Okay, so for this next tutorial, we're gonna put a snow tube in, and we'll also get the camera working for the way that we want it to work. Anyways, here's where we left off before. You see, I've got the hill, I've got the path, I've got the particle systems, and then I put some trees. Remember before we were talking about how to add the trees? I don't know if you followed it though. You're gonna go to append or link. And then you can even do append or link image browser. Okay. And you're going to go into the where you put the tree. Okay, so and then under object there'll be the thing called curve. Okay, so when you click on that, it'll import it into your system. And so let me know if that doesn't go well for you, and I'll make a more detailed tutorial on it. Anyways, we're going to put the tube right into this. You could also, model it in a different file and then import it, but it's such a simple object that we're just going to use it right in the file. Okay, so I'm going to put my cursor, and then I'm going to add, and in this case, I could do it with a mesh. Okay, you can imagine how you could do a sphere and then cut off the top and the bottom and hollow out the middle. But there's actually under surface, there's this thing called NURBS donut. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't know anything about NURBS. I've never found them useful for much. I think they're good for animating, and I don't know for sure. But anyways, let's look at this, because when you click a NURBS donut, and then I'm going to hit spacebar so I can see it, 7 from the top, we see it looks like an inner tube. One of the things, though, that's complicated about using things other than a mesh is if you use a curve, or in this case these NURBS, sometimes the properties are different. You can't do certain things with them. So at any point you always have the option of converting something into a mesh. Okay, and so you do Alt-C with this NURB surface selected, and then it'll say convert NURB surface, and in this case the only thing you can convert it to is a mesh. So when I click this, okay, now it's gone ahead, and if I tab it, you can see how it looks just like a mesh. And I'm always more comfortable doing that because I feel like who knows what happens when you're using NURBS, but I know how meshes work, so I would convert that once I was done with it. Okay, in this case I am. Now, in order to link it to the path, what we're going to do is we're going to set the cursor down here, and then I'm going to go into the edit menu, and I'm going to say center new, or center cursor, which means I want the new center of the object to be at the bottom instead of at the middle. If I go to 7, we'll see it's right at the center. Okay. Because when we're going to link it to this curve, it links through the center of the object, and it's a little bit easier if the cursor, or if the center, is at the bottom of the tube. Okay. Now, remember we did this before, but just in case you forgot, we're going to go into Object. Okay. We're going to click on the Object button, and we're going to add a constraint. And the constraint we're adding is follow path. And then it'll say what's the target of your constraint, which in this case the target of our follow path is what in my Blender file is just called curve still. You could click on the object to see what it's named. And then it does that thing again. Who knows? I don't know why it puts it way up there. Okay, but what I do is I just grab it, and I'm going to move it down until it's at the start of the track. Now here's where you're going to need to play around with it a little bit. Remember, it looks like it's centered there, but from the top down it's not. So I'm going to grab it and put it over the top of it, and then I go to 6 or 3, 1, 7, and I see it's at the start of my path. Let me move over a little bit so it's really at the start of that path. Okay, now when you click through, it should follow the path. But one thing to be careful of is, as you'll notice, because the tube isn't tilting, halfway through, if we now look at it from like the front, or if we zoom in on this object, oops, and then go from the top, we'll see that eventually the tube runs the risk of dipping a little bit into the hill. And so to fix that, here's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to looking at the hill from from the top. Can I move this back to 1? Okay. Here, I'm going to set its rotation. So I'm going to insert a keyframe, and I'm going to insert something on its rotation. Then I'm going to go to, let's say frame 10 or 25. And I'm going to go into the 3 menu, and I'm going to click on the tube, hit period to zoom in, and I'm going to rotate it to be a little bit tilted. Okay. And then I'm going to insert its rotation. So that now, as it goes over the hill, oops, did I insert its location here? Let's say keyframe, rotation. You see that it kind of changes its angle too. Otherwise, it'll continue to be perpendicular all the way down. Okay, so then I'll go a little bit further, and I'm going to do its rotation. And then again, insert a keyframe of its rotation. So now as it moves, it's going to also rotate a little bit. Okay. Now even though I've changed its rotation, that doesn't say anything about its location. So if I fix the location here so that it's closer to the hill, it's still going to keep the rotation change the same. Okay, so now I've got this object, and I'm going to play around with it to make it so that it precisely goes down the hill. And the final thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how we can make the camera scene. We haven't been paying much attention to camera. In our scene, our camera so far has been at the bottom of the hill, or that's where I've put it. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to let this animate. When we're finally done, we're going to let it animate with multiple camera angles. So first we'll do the whole scene from this view. And then what we can also do is we can parent the camera to the tube itself. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab that camera. Just let me zoom out. And then I'm going to rotate it. I'll check through. Oops, it's upside down. So we can tell that it's upside down because that arrow is at the bottom. So I'm going to rotate it until that arrow is at the top. Okay, I'm going to go into 1 and rotate it again down. Okay, now I'm going to look through by 0, and there's my tube. Okay, now what I can do is if I go back to the camera, and while holding down Shift, I click on the tube. Now we were using parent with the armature, but we can do it again. We're going to do Control P, and it'll say Make Parent. Okay. What this does is that now the camera is locked to the tube, and so at any point as you go down the hill, it'll follow. It'll follow the inner tube down the hill. Okay, so we actually don't have to separately animate the path of the camera. We're going to offset it. Now the good thing about animating using a parent object is if I can change the child, which in this case is the camera, anywhere I want. So if I wanted to be a top-down view, I would do this. Okay, and then still it's going to keep locked to the object. Okay, so as long as now if you move the parent, if I move the tube, the camera will move too. But if I move the camera, the tube doesn't move. Okay, and then finally what I noticed is that the life of my snow is not long enough, so that there's not much snow at the bottom. Okay, and I can change that by increasing the life. I'm going to put the life to 600 actually. Okay, and then I would animate it and see what I got. Okay.